All right, so good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. It's wonderful to have you all here. It's a wonderful opportunity always to get to talk to Rajashri. So why don't we dive in and do that? Just in case some of you don't know all of us, I'm Sarah. This is Matt. We're staff teachers at Vikrams San Jose. We happen to be married as well.
30 years.
30 years,
30 years.
yeah,
And then
right?
there's
Yeah.
Michelle up there. Well, for me, she's up there in the top left-hand corner. For you, she could be anywhere. I have no idea what your Zoom looks like. It's like, but that she's the owner and also teacher. So we're all here, and then we have Rajashri. So let's start. Any questions about yoga? You ask what you like, and Rajashri will deal. We'll have the first option to answer you. So let's get the ball rolling. Any questions at all about yoga? Dale, you look like, or Mimi, you look like you've got one.
I have a lot of questions. I feel ridiculous to have so many questions.
I know, it's good. Questions are good.
Okay, I'm going to ask a dumb question. Okay, in Half Tortoise, these are the challenges that I'm having, even in the postures. And I was listening this morning, I think it was to Carrie, and I have a lot of trouble keeping my butt on my heels and still getting a stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to figure out how important it is to keep rather work on the stretch and not worry if my butt lifts up. So is that a silly question?
It's not a silly question. Let's start with Rajashri, please.
Well, thank you. I think you answered, your last word was your answer yourself. That am I going to focus on my stretching, or should I focus on my butt touching on my heels? So you all actually answered your questions that you should focus on your stretching.
Okay.
That's supposed to be that postures actually create for us. And that will do the second part automatically. And when the hips releases. So that's going to ease away my answer to you. So now let's all other hear it.
So Dale, I think it's sometimes students get confused about what exactly you're trying to do in Half Tortoise. And so sometimes, because the teacher says try and touch the front mirror, you push your body forward from your hips, which is not the actual action that's requested. So the action that's requested is to stretch forward and try and touch the front mirror, so much so that you're going to feel your scapula, your shoulder blade coming out of the body, and they may even hurt or be straining to do that. And so it's the same phenomena as if you sit on the floor and put your arms over your head and just stretch up in the air. Obviously your butt doesn't lift off the floor. Your body gets longer, your shoulder blades start to move. And so if you can keep that sensation that of what it is that you're trying to stretch, then you may find that you more naturally keep your butt on your heels because you're clear about which bit of the body's doing the stretching. Does that make sense?
Totally. No, it's fine. I'm happy with that. And I know the rest of me will level out.
It's like Half Moon, so in Half Moon, we say stretch up and try and touch the ceiling. But every time you stretch up out of the waist, you're also stretching down into the floor. So your body is stretching in opposite directions. And so the hips are stretching down as your arms, your torso, everything is stretching up. And so it's the same phenomenon in Half Tortoise, but because of where we are, sometimes we just get confused and basically just push our body forward using our hips.
Okay, thank you.
Michelle, do you have anything to add?
Not really. I don't want to complicate it more than it is, because the more you stretch, the better it's going to get. Right? And remember, all the other postures lead to that one too. So you just keep doing the practice and you'll keep warming up and be able to do more. It's not easy to keep your hips on your heels. I mean, it is a very challenging posture, kind of one of the ones that I think are more underestimated. We're on the floor and I enjoy that posture, but it's hard. You're waking up a lot of your shoulders, right? You're trying to open up your shoulder scapula, and you, even as a teacher, you guys, right? I know Rajashri, when you see it with people, there's a struggle to keep the arms together, even, right? The palms together to stretch forward. But the stretching is going to help take care of the hips being on the heels.
I feel it's a very difficult pose. It's by itself if you are not practicing every day and if your weight is not controlled, if you have a abdominal belly fat, if your knees are hurting, if you're having some bad day with your ankle. I mean, I challenge you this. It's a simple postures, but I do challenge you this posture.
Yeah.
You know, it's a day how your life is going in. So one postures can actually say it a lot.
This Dale, this posture is also used therapeutically outside of the sequence for people with shoulder problems, especially in neck problems. And so in a therapeutic context, they might actually put like a 25-pound sandbag on your sacrum to keep your hips down so that you really get the sensation of stretching. And then the other piece to that, which is very important and is part of the standard instruction for the posture, is that the elbows must be locked. Mm-hmm. When you lock your elbows, your arms become one entire construct from your fingertips to including your shoulder blades, your scapula. And so then when you learn to stretch your arm with a locked elbow, you're using all of the 16 muscles attached to the scapula to actually cause mobility in the shoulder blade. And it's the lack of mobility in the shoulder blade that causes a lot of shoulder injuries and neck problems for people. So it's really a very fabulous posture if you can get the sense of where the stretching is happening.
You know, there's the line in the dialogue you hear, the scapulae coming out of the body, the shoulder's supposed to hurt. And then we talk about the blood flow coming to the brain, stretching the heart muscles. So it's not like you obsess about gluing your hips on the heels, but if they stay down and you let your spine relax and then you stretch the scapulae coming out of the body, all of those things happening. So your instincts were really good, that it was about the stretch, as Rajeshri began with.
If you think of this pose, I also feel, you know, like and all the standing postures, when we try to stretch, it all depends on the range of motions and how we are developing ourselves. You know, some days you have pain, you have a fatigue. This one on the floor, you get that support.
Yes.
It's that support helps to stretch also. So if you are practicing, you are by yourself, you are want to get these therapeutic aspects of yoga and start stretching and finding in a support system, feel safe. I think this is the best posture for that, practicing, because the floor is there, your mat is there, everything is there. You are not on the air, the hands, you're not trying to stretch on the air where you start feeling, when I'm going to bring my arms is going to pull my shoulder. No, because you are together stretching forward, you're doing as best as you can. It's really good support system from even the ground. We find this pose to stretch.
Thank you. I like that posture. It's one that I actually look forward to. Yes. But I want to make sure I'm getting the most out of it. So okay, that's great. I'm gonna keep going.
Good.
I just wanted to add something, or it could be a question, or it could be my take on this posture. So there are so many students, I mean, they struggle to bring their hips to the heels. So they ask me what is more important, bringing forehead to the floor or that. So what I say, you try to stretch as much as you can, but forehead comes down to the floor is much more therapeutic benefit. And the more you keep doing this, the more your body will open up, then hips going to the heels. So I tell them more bring forehead to the floor is much more therapeutic. You get much more oxygen blood flow in your brain. So that's what I say. Any thoughts on that?
No, that's great for me.
I think it's right. I mean, you're not teaching wrong way. It depends on the people. Sometimes you got to see it. It's a tough pose. Yeah, it's. I mean, we really need from brain to get that oxygen, and it's only 20% goes from the heart to the brain. You know, and this is the only posture can, because of the way the posture is, it can go more than that. But we need it. That's
yeah. The people are not flexible. They are, some of them very struggling on that. So yeah. All right. Thank you, Rajshri.
I would say that you have to be a little bit careful about making touching the forehead on the floor the intent of the posture, because it's not the intent of the posture. The intent of the posture is a stretching.
Stretching.
And so the more you stretch, the easier it is to get your forehead to touch the floor. But the primary action in that posture is the stretching.
Right, right.
And so then again, as Rajshi said, I think you have to kind of see what's happening in front of you to try and figure out if somebody's perhaps misconstruing what you're asking them to do.
Okay.
Isn't it true, Rajashri, that this is one of the ones, right? I mean, Bikram yoga is known for everybody being able to do an inversion.
Yeah.
You don't have to do a headstand, a handstand, and this is one of those, right? Where the heart is above the head.
Yeah.
So you get the benefits from an inversion type posture.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. This is a really therapeutic pose. Really, yoga is one of the best therapeutic postures. Even if some people, I remember in my teacher, Dr. Das, used to have them do like, because in yoga in India is one person helping other if they need a therapy. So if they have ankle issues, they used to put the pillow underneath the ankle. If they have a lower back issue, they want to make people to do this pose. They used to put the pillow between ankle and the hips.
Yes.
Stretching is still going on, but that's not possible in the class because of lessons. But just to understand as a teacher for us as a concept, how much you want to push your students, that they don't do wrong, which is Matt just said, being head down, you don't want to hurt somebody. So it's all about stretching. So that's why I said it when she asked the question first. I said, you already said the answer.
Their instincts are good.
Yeah. But it's also that, that as the student gets more related to the primary action of the posture, which is stretching, like I said to Dale earlier, when you stretch out of the waist, there is stretching happening in two different directions. And so one of the directions of that stretch is the torso from the waist upwards, stretching towards the mirror. And the other part of the torso is actually stretching down and the thighs are active. And that's the force that's bringing the hips down to the heels. But it's a consequence of the stretching, a reaction, if you like, an equal and opposite, rather than it being the goal or the purpose of the posture.
Yeah.
Dale, sorry, not Dale. So we'll come back to you, Dale. Kamal, you have your hands up politely there. Do you have a question?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you again.
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
I keep switching the other one off. So Eagle, where I teach right now, the studio owner says if you have tight shoulders, do that. And I find that, I don't teach that. I say if you have tight shoulders and you can't get the palms in front of them, then even if you get the back of your hands together, then do that. But I find students who, when I'm teaching, will try and get those palms together. But if I'm practicing a class where the other teacher's teaching, they automatically will just go here and stay here. And I've noticed that some of those regular students have done that for quite a while. How do I approach that? Because I just feel they're not getting any benefit by just holding their shoulders.
Do you want to start, Rajashri? We'll always start with you and then...
I know, but this is a common thing between students are fine. Actually, teachers versus another teachers or teachers versus studio owner. So it's very complicated for me to get in there, because you as teaching your students, when I feel like whoever the teacher should be taking the charge of the students that moment, and you actually answer right, like saying like this doesn't do anything. If you can try a little bit, you're not pushing hard enough, but you're just trying. But some students we have situation, they only able to do because there's a joint arthritic is so bad. All other kinds of syndromes in arms or shoulders there, that they're not able to. So finding who is the right fit for that position, that's teacher's responsibility. So it's always this conflict happen between one teacher versus another teachers, then poor students doesn't know exactly what to do. So I will let you guys answer these questions. I can only tell about how to progress the postures, where the benefits should be, because seriously, if someone is able to do that much, why not try to do that much?
Precisely.
Why are you stucking that person holding like this shoulder? There's no need it.
I'll just quickly add to that. The particular students that I know they don't have any issues in the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists.
Yeah.
So I know, because if I push them in my class, they will try.
Yeah.
Good.
However they go to.
That's the
But
best.
then when
That's
they
great.
go in front of the other teacher, they just automatically go back to here. And I feel then they take a huge step back each time.
I think you really just need to keep encouraging them to try.
Yeah.
So that they're, even if the teacher says do this, if they feel like, oh, no, I can do this, then they're going to do this. They're going to try the little bit more. But I mean, I certainly remember Vikram at my teacher training, because he dealt with, a few guys. It was some really big guys that had done like American football. They had huge, big, stiff shoulders. And so what he did this, but he didn't stop here. This was the beginning of something.
It's a technique.
It was like, it was pull your shoulders down and then try to get the backs of hands together, then try to get them and wrap their hands like ropes. So it was a step of action in the posture, not if you can't do it, just put your arms here and just, kind of give up on your arms kind of thing, give up on your shoulders. And so I think sometimes it gets a bit misconstrued that that you're still meant to be trying, even if your range of motion is limited in some fashion on that particular day or in that, in a certain particular way. But it's not about just kind of giving people an out, a get out clause to just sort of hang out and not do anything, because that's neither good for their body, nor is it good for their mind, nor is it good for their heart or their soul to sort of give up. And obviously this is about practice. And the last thing we want people to do in the room is to practice giving up. We want to do the opposite. We want to practice not giving up.
Right. To add to that, Matt, that's exactly, if I'm hearing you correctly, and you, Rajeshri, too, Kamal, and you can be the one to lead the charge on this, because the beautiful thing about Bikram yoga is there is no modifications. We just unravel the posture to their beginning stage. What can they do to start? And then from there. And so you have to talk that way, right? That this isn't the end all and that's it, right? That was the beginning, right? And then like Matt showed, right? Slowly, right? The back of the hands and then one hand in front of the other. Like it's continual, until they can continue to do the posture, the 100%. It's still 100% the right way, but not stuck, right? So
the 100% the right way is really important, especially for the shoulders. The shoulder joint is very complex. It has like a 4-stage engagement and it's timing related. And so if you do the wrong thing, either because the teacher told you to do it or because you just have your own ideas about how to move your shoulders, you're just going to institutionalize the problem that you have with your shoulder. And so you'll just practice institutionalizing it class after class after class and never get any progress or benefit from the posture. Whereas if you try the right way, even if it seems ridiculously early in the sequence, like I'm struggling to get my elbows to cross, I'm struggling to get my backs to hands there, but you're trying the right way, which means that the brain, the muscles, everything is actually working correctly, albeit at some limited range of motion. It doesn't matter because you're on the right path. It's a train that's on the tracks versus a train that's off the tracks. So it doesn't matter if it's still in the station and it's barely advanced more than 1 meter. It's on the tracks, and so it will over time progress further along those tracks.
I always say, just go to your next range of motion, wherever that is. Take that one step more, and then build on that the next time and the next time and the next time, and eventually, you will get to where. Everybody, and you may not get to that point because everybody is different, but keep working on the next stage. Don't aim to get to the very end, because everybody is at different stages. So I do use that sort of language when I see somebody like that in front of me who just does that each time. And I think it is just as Michelle said, you have to just keep, and Matt said.
Yeah, and remember we have
keep reminding
pranayama and you have awkward, and these are things that are warming you up, right? And even when Vikram was, as Matt was illustrating, Rajashri, you can just see this too, right? He's asking the individual to still pull down. You're trying to get some movement out of your shoulder blade scapula, just like in Half Tortoise. It's not like we land in a posture and we hold it. I mean, we're stretching. Right, we're doing something, right? We're not trying to be static. There's a movement that needs to happen in order to open something up, right?
Yeah.
So
let me look back, because a lot of time we reflect, because you said something, we reflect there. To students who you are trying to move forward, and then they go to front of others, teachers, and immediately they go back to their old practice, and where they don't move. Have you tried to find out from them that doing with you, just moving forward a little bit more, did it bother them or did it actually help them? Because that's for your own concept to understand why.
Oh, I do. Yeah. I ask them after a class. I always speak to those students. I make a point of speaking to as many of those students as I can. And just yesterday, this was the case at the lunchtime practice. And they actually said, I've started to come to your class because you push me a little bit more, and you get more out of me and I get more out of my practice, because you will push me that little bit more, where if I feel as if I'm just going to stay here, you'll see that in me and you'll push me, and I then get the confidence to move forward a little bit.
Yes.
So I do ask them, I do speak to them after a class.
Yeah. And so because I think this needs to be also discussed, something that our technique, when our teachers teaches, and every studio should have this, like what you all do in San Jose, because that's very important, sharing all this, all this knowledge between the teachers and how to move them forward, because we want students to get better.
Absolutely.
Not that is better, but when postures get better, they basically feel good.
Yes, yes. There's a difference. You alluded right in the beginning, Raj, to somebody who might have like a really severe problem that they can't move their arms even, as opposed to somebody who's got, you have that person who's at one extreme, somebody who's got big muscles and finds it difficult to do this but can do it. So the second person, you should ask them to try the best they can and not expect perfection. And the other person, maybe there's, if for example, you've got a student who's got one leg, it's different than a person having weak ankles, and they're two different categories. So the person's got big muscles, they can try all those techniques and at the best of their ability. I think maybe sometimes people are looking for it to be done absolutely correctly. And if it's not done correctly, they don't like the look of it, so they think do something else.
Yeah.
So whereas there really is, there's an extreme person who needs something different once in a while, and there's everybody else who's trying just the best of their ability the right way.
And I feel like the other thing that you're rubbing up against too, Kamal, that I think Rajashri tapped upon, is you're right, the consistency in which there's the teaching at the studio that you're at, right? So you're 100% right, Rajashri, where we make it a point where we meet with the teachers once a month, and that is critical, so you can have these kinds of conversations, right, where you come together and there's a camaraderie and a teaching etiquette that you're all on the same page, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Angela, did you have a question?
Well, I like specifics, Sarah. So I realized that this is a Q&A, and I did not have a question. I had a comment about that posture that I noticed. Is it okay to voice my comment?
Yeah, which posture did you mean? The first one we talked about, or
eagle? Well, I just want to say this, is that from my own experience, what I found in 2018 and 19 is the posture where, you know, you sit on your heels and you're trying to put the one
Half Tortoise. Yeah.
Half Tortoise. Excellent. Thank you. I realized that I wasn't going to be able to get any further into that posture for me personally until my stomach was out of the way. So I realized that I had to go on a drastic diet to get my stomach out of the way so that I could get a little closer with my head to my forehead to the ground. And it helped.
It helped.
It was able to get me, especially at the last posture before the spine twist. I was able to get closer because my stomach became another way. And I have friends who do the yoga, and I share that with them in a gentle way. Not everybody has that experience. I just wanted to share my experience that it helped me. I still can't touch my forehead to the floor, and I could go on and on about that. But thank you for bringing that up, because I think, Rajashree, you mentioned something about that. You know, and that's why I wanted to just, you know, kind of chime in on that. Thank you. And I do have questions when they come up. I'll ask. Thank you for calling me, Sarah.
Yeah. That's a great thing to say. Thank you for sharing that. It's great.
Yeah.
That's true.
If you don't mind, I can't figure out where to do the hand thing on my screen, so.
It's all right.
You do a real one, yeah.
If you don't mind, we go back to Eagle for a second. I heard something last week, and it wasn't from any of you guys, and I had heard it some years ago, and it was the first time I'd heard it in a while. And I'm one of those people that I cannot ever imagine getting my fingertips below my nose, but I blame it on the fact that I have a short neck. But anyway, somebody said to pull your elbows out and down. And I thought, well, maybe that'll help me, you know, gain some ground. I don't know how important that is, but I was sort of trying it. Then I kind of didn't, because it didn't really feel that it was accomplishing anything in my shoulders. What do you think about pulling out and down?
You keep answering your own questions, don't you? You're quite good at this. It's like
I worry about these things. I'm not answering.
I never heard it. Rajashree, do you have you? No.
I really don't know that phrase very well, so I don't want to make it.
I'm wondering if it's a correction, because a lot of times people have their arms far away.
Maybe that's what I heard.
Close, away.
Right? And they could be saying, get your elbows out to bring it to come down.
That must have been.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's a risk.
A lot of people are that their hands are way far away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But there is a risk I've seen, particularly with more supple or flexible people, where they're deliberately trying to bring their elbows out. And if you do that, your shoulder blades come forward rather than down. And so you end up, if you have the mobility to be able to do it, you end up defeating the actual stretch of the shoulders, the trapezius and the latissimus. So your elbows are meant to come down towards the floor. Try and get the fingertips below the nose.
And if your hands are out, you really can't.
You bring your hands in. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You had to bring them in, and then you can go down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
But I think your instinct is good, that anytime you hear an instruction that you haven't heard before, or almost never before, it's always good to maybe try it out in the class, do what the teacher's asking you to do, but also bring some extra awareness to go, okay, what's happening when I do this? You know, how does it feel? What's moving? Is this consistent with how I understand this posture to work for myself, so that you can then reflect whether it was helpful or not helpful. I had just before I went to teacher training, I went on this work retreat in Hawaii, and Isaac Garcia was there, so he came up with a question of somebody about, you know, what do you do when the teacher says something unusual in the class? And he said he shared his own personal point of view, which I thought was a lovely piece of wisdom for us all, which is, I do whatever the teacher tells me to do. It doesn't mean I'm going to do it again, but in the class, right there and then, I'll do what they're asking me to do, unless I think it's dangerous to me in that moment. I'm just going to do it, because I don't know. They might just be using different words that are unusual to me. So it's kind of good to be in an accepting frame of mind, but it's also good to bring some extra awareness for yourself to that.
Yes. And it seems like you've got good judgment from both questions. You're already on the path yourself with it. So it seems like you've got good judgment to do that.
Yeah. You know, and also I feel sometimes like following up with the how Isaac said it, because you are teaching someone in front of you, and when someone is in front of you, you are actually teaching that person and you are explaining certain way. It's not for mass though, it's for only that person. So sometimes others, when they hear it, they mistaken, they think, okay, it's maybe for everyone.
Yes.
So that's where, as a teacher for us, we just have to be sometimes careful, because I happen to be many times that for me, because I had a student come in because I told them to come into the hot room. I can't create that separately. I said, come and do it together. And the lady was not able to move shoulder at all. Whole time for her, shoulder was basically one hand's down, another hand on the hips. But, it's very hard for me to run the whole class and putting whole attention to her. So many times I'm going back and forth and back and forth. Then I started feeling it. Other group of people taking little advantage of that situation and trying to moderate themselves.
Uh-huh.
Like they don't need it, but they were trying. And the person who doesn't, who needs it, she was feeling like, okay, I may have to do a little bit more. But it's a amazing feeling in this class. At the result, at the end, I will tell you, the person who actually came with minus, after 7 days, the person was able to lift both arms up and doing comfortably, and
Right.
others were like looking and clapping. I said, look, you guys were like trying to follow her more. She needed to follow you, and she was feeling now her shoulder is better. It's like,
Yeah.
it's the whole power of the class.
Yeah.
It's create that. So sometimes as a teacher is a very good way of finding ourselves, how we deliberate or deliver our message, and what we do, how focused we are. Because when we're teaching and 25, 30 or 50 people in the class, someone is like that, other one is something, it's very hard to same moment to give everybody in same space.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is.
It's my personal experience. It's really that happened.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's great. What a teacher. She was a teacher for them, right? The student is a teacher for them. Yeah.
I want to add something to that. So in my teaching experience, student will come, oh, you said this way and it actually makes sense, but the other teacher said that way didn't make sense. So for my experience, I think that in our journey, we are always learning. Sometimes we are ready to listen, sometimes we are not ready to listen. So in Vikram dialogue, the way the dialogue is actually structured and the setups of everything, I believe that most of the teacher actually saying the same thing in a different language. So sometimes the student can receive the same information differently. And also Rajeshwari mentioned that, something particularly for the particular student, not the whole class, right? So it varies. But when any teacher says something, it come across a new information to me, I try it. But this is what I say that just the Matt also mentioned about Isa Garcia, that try that, and until it's hurting badly, don't do it. And open to listen really is. But each student perceive things differently, really is. That's my experience. Matt saying the same thing, I'm saying the same thing, but they're listening differently sometimes. So it's a part of the journey, and body is very complex. As human, we are not that simple either. So each body is different. So different instruction can be a little bit differently for every body. So.
Yeah.
Hello, Nori. Welcome. Hi there. So more questions, and Nori, feel free to chime in if you have something.
Oh, thank you. I'm very late. Sorry about that. And I missed. My question is really basic. I am practicing from Southern California at your studio. And thank you, everyone. I love all your teachings that the teachers I've had. I do
Thank you.
online. Yeah. Do the teacher, and I get it. I turn my camera on. Is there a preference? The reason why I do that is it keeps me honest, because I think, okay, someone's going to be watching me. I better do the pose. Is that, or does it matter?
We can't
That's all.
see you, unfortunately. Unfortunately, the way we have it right now, we can't see you. When on the occasion I practice online, I use the camera as my mirror. So I'm doing it. That's for my purposes. I like that. But we right now can't see you. During the pandemic, we taught directly into the screen, and we could see every student in their little window. But now, no, it will be your preference, what you like.
But I would say, Nori, that if you've noticed that it kind of puts you on notice, then that's a really good thing. Because obviously one of the, as we were saying earlier, one of the really important things about a Bikram class is that it's a group class. So anything that helps you feel like you're in the group, in your mental frame, will be helpful for the quality of your practice, irrespective of what the truth is of whether anybody can or can't see you. If you just act like that and you act like you're in class, it's going to be more beneficial for your practice.
I feel that, yeah.
I have to do that. When I practice at home, I have to feel, I love that I can feel like I'm in the classroom.
Yeah. Makes a difference.
Yeah.
And obviously at a factual level, if you have the camera on, other students in the live stream can see you. So there is an element in which you are actually truly part of a group as well. So
that's true. Yeah.
That is right. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
No, that was your question. Good. That was easy.
For now, I'll listen. If something comes up, I'll raise my hand.
Yeah. But it's actually, it raises an interesting point about practicing online in general, which is, obviously in a live stream, you can't pause it. The class is happening in real time. You can't pause it. And so it's the most like being in the room. But if you are practicing at another time, maybe at a hotel and it's an off time and you're practicing, say, to a YouTube recording or something, anything you can do that helps you get in that same mindset is going to be helpful. So for instance, like if I practice to a recording, I try and put myself in the mindset that it's not possible to hit pause. Yeah. Because if I'm in the frame of mind that it's possible to hit pause, then I'm not really in the class. I've got one foot in the class and one foot out of the class.
Yeah. 100%.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, more questions. Any questions? Or I'm going to go. All right, I've got a question. I'm going to start with ask Rajeshri to address it first. From being someone who loathed locust posture, salabhasana, because I didn't understand how to do it, I've become a great lover of locust, and I can get a good stretch. And as far as normal locust goes, I can get quite high, but I've reached a limit, and I want some instruction what I should do next to be able to lift my legs higher.
Where do you put your hands?
My hands are under the body and grab with the fingertips.
Okay, so that's where you have to little bit more work on.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you can bring it more inside and more close, the more it goes, then body weights goes on the front and easier for back and kicking leg up.
As close as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. And that's exactly, they're not as close as they could be typically.
Yeah,
so
that's where the power comes in.
Got it. Thank you.
Also, if you
why is that? Because of leverage?
Yeah, it's a whole leverage of the whole back to kick. Already you are on the top of the shoulders and the chin. Your body is up. You are in control. To putting that much elbow in, it's a stress on the elbow and the arms and the back. Back has to be flexible enough, ready enough. So the leg goes up when back is ready.
Yeah.
And the muscles also has to be engaged in there. So when you lift your leg up and place your hands in, that means your core is also got strong. That's why you are able to lift your hip buttocks up from the floor that much. So it's a whole coordination, and it's not one day happen. That's why it's a regularity, and it's also consistency, in the practice, that you actually focus on doing it. A lot of people practice just to do their own stretching leg, feel good for the hip joint movements. Some people do to give that lift, and some people do it just to find enough strength on the back and build the strength on the abs. So the purpose, the postures goes different way. So that was some posture was for me was childhood. Like I would flip right away, 2 legs up. I was much less weight than now. I was totally coordination with body, mind, and all these proper joints, everything. Then I had 3, 4 back problems, a lot of, herniation on my back. Now I'm recovering from it. So what I try to just give the mobility. And now my mobility, now my practice again, I'm doing it. So with this mobility, I am trying to giving my lift 1 leg at a time, but keeping it arms a little open or legs a little open, for both leg up, because otherwise I feel the pressure. But I know I am not able to do it because I lost that tone. So for Sarah is already there, because now in her body urging to go for the next level.
Yes.
You will know yourself. It's just so amazing in this posture.
Yes, it's an exploration, isn't it? It's wonderful.
You also notice, like, for instance, when I practice it, there's a progression, an increasing as I progress in the posture, as I'm lifting. The more you fill your arms with power,
exactly,
especially as you're part way up, as you're coming up, add more and more power into your arms, you'll find that your shoulders and the upper part of your spine starts to get powerful, and you lift more.
exactly.
Because obviously the legs is a little bit more obvious kind of thing. I mean, maybe that's not fair, but it's a little bit more straightforward to get the initial lift of the legs. But to get the whole spine lifting, you've got to get the upper spine to start to be active, and your shoulder blades activated through the strength of your arms is that powerful set of 16 muscles that can help lift and activate the top of the thoracic spine. So it's really important. If your arms are flaccid, you're never going to get anywhere.
No, but Matt, to get that point, there is because of this posture I know how I used to do, and now I know how I do now. I am going to tell you, there is a injury and pre-injury, post-injury, and recovery. All this you can call in these postures, you can experience. You can be champion on these postures, then you hurt yourself, you're injured, and you recover, you rehabilitate, and after that you start going back. This is not easy pose. This is unique in this series, basically. I mean, we can talk about these postures whole time. It will never end, because every teachers, Dr. Das, Iyengar, and Bikram, 3 of them, if we put there all these lessons for this only one pose, everyone will have their students with a different reason for different problem, doing different way. But purpose is the same. Basically, spinal strength, flexibility, rehabilitate that hold all of the joints things. But how we are doing it, when, what moment, and it's funny because you can constantly improve at the same time. If you have an injury, you go back 30%, 50% again down. But the same pose again will heal you.
Yes.
Wow. Right.
That's the best posture.
Yeah.
So how we understand that pose, going, seesaw like. So now how she asked the question, that's why I said, only way to putting in. But if I try to put that much elbow in, if I have not control of my lower back, I have a pain there, I have a belly fat there, sometimes even chest, if you have a basically, if you have a heavy breathing, if you have a lot of time high blood pressure, people have a hard time.
Yeah.
You know, abdominal obesity, they can't even put the elbows in. If they have a frozen shoulder, if they have any kind of a back issues, it's very hard to put the arms in that time. But can they do not do it? Yes, not like Sarah, but they will do it their own way.
Yes.
It would be, you know, so this is a beautiful pose, actually. Very good postures.
Thank you. Great answer.
I will see you. You'll send me picture now.
Okay, I will. Yes.
You should keep your both leg up and
Yes.
send me that picture.
All right, once they come up, yes, the camera will come. Yes. I'm practicing this afternoon, so I'll try bringing the elbows very close and powering up the arms more. Yes.
Just to lift the body up is very important. That's the hips up, place the hands in. Because that's where the laziness comes in, if you look at it. After Cobra, half of the people are lifting the body up, you know, they all like to lie down on the floor. That time moving students, oh, move your body, bring the arms underneath your body. One at a time, coming slowly.
Yep. We're laughing because we all know we all do it, right?
Still, you do each one leg at a time, but both leg is tougher.
Yeah.
Both leg time is tough.
For sure. For sure.
No,
And do you have more questions?
No.
Dale, didn't you say you had more questions too?
Dale, you had more, right? No?
Well, you know, I'm doing a Maui fundraising class next Saturday.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I just because I could not hold my. I see this. This is so sad.
Yes.
What time is your class?
Class is going to be 9 a.m. in Pacific Standard Time in the morning, and so Hawaii and East Coast can make it. You know.
And where would people go to get details about that?
Yeah, all on the social media. I'll send you one link. It's on Zoom link. I'm directly doing with Maui people.
Got it.
So
Wonderful.
they are fundraising and they are handling everything. I just gave my Zoom details.
Wonderful.
So it's going to be it's the morning class that can take East Coast and even the Hawaii people can join. So.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I see it. You sent it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They you know, Martha is doing everything. Martha is our studio there. Our teacher, Martha Cotton.
Yeah.
She's doing the whole thing. I reached out to her. I said, because we used to have a yearly retreat there.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah. It's like, it's so sad to see what happened there.
Very much so. Yes.
Well, we can promote it to
yeah, please join, please help, you know, whatever, because it goes directly. I don't do anything. I just send the Zoom link so everybody can join in just like that. I am actually posted the Zoom link out. It's public. Everybody can just join in and directly they are, because they have so many things, like they have shelters home, they have all kinds of different part they are doing it, because it's really bad what I hear. The water is not fixed yet. It's like they are having curfew, no electricity, a lot of things, a lot of problems.
devastating. Devastating. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for doing that, Rajeshri. Yeah.
So far, only thing we can do, like coming to each studio doing it, then I just took the initiative. Then anybody can do after that. After me.
So if anyone speak up, if not, I've got another question for Rajeshri. So, okay. Dale, there we go.
Oh, yeah. I know, I'm such a big mouth. Anyway, okay.
Wonderful, keep going.
I'm gonna, and talk, somebody mentioned like listening to the teacher. I always do exactly who's ever teaching, whatever they say, but in fixed firm, how far apart? I am one of those people, I cannot lay back down unless my knees are all the way opened up. Now, some of you guys say, open your knees, and you don't even all do the same thing all the time. But I do whatever the teacher says. If whoever says I can open my knees, I do it. And if they don't say so, I don't. So I'm thinking I'm getting different sides
You
of
can
the
open
posture.
your knees. It will say it in the first set always, and then if you need to do it second set, you can do it.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. Well, I think
Rajeshri, getting them. Rajeshri might have something else.
You are fine because you teach her every day. There is something that I have to make sure that, you know your students better. So, and you getting there. I mean, that's what the trust comes between the teacher and students when you are going to her class every day and you seeing her progress. You're doing right things, Sarah.
Yeah. If you don't have to open your knees, you don't have to.
Yeah.
But if you need to open, you go ahead, open them. Yeah.
I would still say, and I do sometimes explicitly in class when I talk about opening your knees if they hurt, but still try and keep them as close together as you can. And I'll share with you a little anecdote of that. That I was in a class about 4 or 5 years ago, with a teacher who'd been teaching for 35 years. And she came to me, and this was not a standard Bikram class. This was actually an Iyengar class, but we were doing that posture. And she knew me very well. And she knew I was a teacher. She knew I practiced all the time. And she watched me do the posture with my knees about so far apart, maybe 10 inches apart, something like that, maybe a foot. And she came along, and we would never do this in a Bikram class, but she came along and she watched me get into the posture, and she grabbed my knees and slowly brought them together. Not forced them, but slowly brought them together until eventually they were touching, and it was really hard, but they were touching. And it was a lesson for me because it told me that I'd been underestimating what I could do time and time again. So I still have to open my knees a little bit when I go into the posture, and then on any given day, depending on my mobility on that particular day, I may or may not be able to get them to touch once I'm in the posture. But it was a game changer for me on that day because it made me realize that I had settled for somewhere that was simply comfortable and was no longer trying to truly explore what my potential was. And so that I mean, the flip side of that obviously is somebody who goes crazy and hurts themselves. I mean, you don't want to ever do that, but you also don't want to underestimate what's possible for you either.
And having said my answer, the instruction in the dialogue, Bikram's instruction is, if you have pain in your knees or feet, don't open your knees.
Yeah. So the first thing is dialogue. Second thing, if you think about being out of comfort zone, and the third thing is being afraid of trying new.
Yeah.
Those are the three things the human mind works. So that's why if we can have people listen to the dialogue, it's so much better. First thing. Second thing is that what's your comfort zone is, and do you practice without breaking through that comfort zone? And third is you actually underestimate yourself because of you are afraid of yourself to try new things and people. That's also a comfort zone or safe zone, you can call both together. It's a very mind thing, basically. So I think the yoga class altogether does break through that, that break through that shells that where we live in. So I think
especially that posture, because we talked about this before, this posture can be relatively easy for many people and super, super hard, right? And then some people I think are ambitious, they overly ambitious, maybe their knees aren't ready yet, and so their knees are coming up off the floor. So, and I like, and you know this better than I do, Sarah, but it's where it's placed in the dialogue too. I mean, you want to get into this setup correctly and open your feet, your hips in between your heels. And then, I mean, it's the sequencing of how the posture is being set up for you to understand, okay, right now, is my knees, feet in pain?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And then adjust accordingly, right, Rajeshri? Right. You adjust accordingly
100%.
Before you move on to the next step, right?
Yeah, there's an important piece there actually, and I would challenge anybody who's listening who practices with their knees apart to to follow the exact order. So you start with your knees and your feet together. You open your feet. You sit down on the floor between your feet, so your hips are touching the floor. Then, if your knees are hurting, your ankles are hurting, you open your knees. So don't open your knees until you've already tried to sit down.
100%.
Exactly.
And it's
got
really
it.
important, and it speaks to the alignment of everything that's happening in your knees, your ankles, and your hips. It's also, I mean, the other thing I wanted to share as well is that, you know, having taught now for quite some time, that it's very clear to me that the people who get the most benefit physically out of that posture are the people who try that middle zone. They don't go crazy beyond what they're capable of today, nor do they hold back in excessive caution, but they find the middle ground. And it's all at a physical level. All of the things that we do have a principle of time under tension, that if you try for a period of time with activity, with action happening to the range of motion that you're capable of in that moment, that's when the therapy starts to happen. If you just try momentarily and stop, you don't get much benefit out of it. But if you keep trying for seconds, you know, depending on the posture, it could be 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds, depending on the posture and the action, that's when the therapeutic benefit is starting to happen, when you're continuously trying to do the action within the reasonable boundaries of what you're capable of on that particular day.
Which is called stillness in Sanskrit, but
Yeah. Yes.
But that's actually the timings we need to give ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's very interesting because if you think about it, because it's a general discussion we're doing, how medicine even work in the body, right? Medicine will not work in just immediately as soon as you push it. It's not. As soon as you take the pills, it takes half an hour to actually work in the body. So if you look at it in yoga, it's not even 30 minutes, 30 seconds can do it.
Yes.
But not to stick with it.
Yes. Yes. You have
Yeah, and it's our ability to stay attentive.
Yes.
Right? You know, even like
body mind
firm is such a great example, because sometimes I think we have no attention to it at all, or a hyper attention to it, especially if our knees or feet hurt. But if you stay attentive in each moment, right?
100%.
Like, you know, from start to finish in that posture.
It's really possible. It's in our limit. It's possible, but it's just, we just give up, you know, like I'm just bringing that attention, because
and when does the moment change though? I mean, this is a great, if we're going to go this discussion, because this is where you go from one angle to the other. Let's just say, Dale, right, you're at a certain point in the posture, right, and you take yourself a little bit further, and all of a sudden you hit a knot and you can't quite do it. Do we stay there and breathe, or do we get frustrated and want to change it? Right. You know what I mean? That's a sweet spot in your own journey. Yeah. That's not bad. It's a moment for like, wow, you know, or, you know, the other side of it too, right? You know, you don't want to underestimate that your ability. Well, wait a minute, I can move through this, right? And give yourself, you know, encourage yourself to go a little bit further. I'm just encouraging what you're saying, using fixed firm as the example, right? In the moment we get a little frustrated, then we've put a block on our progress, by the way, right? You know, we've instilled a little bit of fear in there, right? And, you know, we're not working with the pose and the breath, right? So, and loving ourselves for having, oh, you know what? I hit a point where now I'm getting the nourishment I need, and I need just to wait a while. Right?
That consolations comes through us, our own self-realizations, you know, like, that's why being present is there. Being visible is very important, you know, like if you want to be invisible and if you want to be not present, mindful present, which I'm talking about, breath awareness, mindful present, body awareness, that's all together actually change that whole.
100%. That's why the yoga is so powerful, right? It's all these things are happening as we're doing fixed firm.
Yes.
Right? You know,
Actually, it's true.
Yeah,
Each poses brings up the emotions and physical
amazing.
level of emotions and, the surface. And that's to notice that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Sarah, I know you were, I saw Angelo. I just said Angelo because you had your hand up a couple times and then not. If you don't, I'm not going to say your name.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, Angelo's name, I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
Yeah. You.
What was
Do you-
that like in the volleyball where you hit the ball up so the other person can spike it? They call that a set. Yeah. So I guess I could I don't really have a whole lot to ask. I just wanted to make a comment. It's something that's been very helpful for me to do was communicate to was learn how to communicate when I'm in pain and when I'm struggling and I'm having a hard time. And that's not my go-to. I didn't learn how to do that growing up. And I certainly didn't know how to do that when I got here. So I did everything 100% the right way for a number of years. And now I'm doing it, and there's certain places it's painful, and I don't know where that pain's come from, but it's come to my back, muscular. Thank God it's not bone or anything I can feel in there, but it's muscular tension that if I go as hard as I can go, I end up crippled and I can't raise my arms. So as a result, I was able to communicate that to the studio, Michelle, and I shared with her, but it gave me a wonderful relief. And I realized I probably should have done that a lot sooner because I can sense that, as a student, teachers want to encourage you and correct and help. And I've always accepted correction. I love it. It's been the journey of my life the last 7 years, but I have not been able to do things, and until I finally, and it started messing with my head because I'm like, they don't want me. They want me to do something that I know it's going to end up injuring. So my mind started getting in weird spaces, and I had to realize I had to communicate. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I said I have to tell people that I'm injured. I didn't even know how to say that to anybody. I really didn't. I didn't even know that I was injured, and it was killing me. So, and since I've been able to do that, I've told a few of the teachers at BYSJ that because I'm big, I work there and everything else, but I don't know if it's type A or whatever. I just wasn't able to do that. Now I am, and I'm taking care of myself, and it feels better. So I'm finding a way to be in there without hurting myself anymore. So that's and that's my own thing. So I'm grateful for that. And anybody, that's something anyway, I don't have a question because I just can't, I can't do anything with my arms right now. I have a lot of back pain and muscular pain. So, but that's it. I just wanted to share that it was when I was able to do that, it made me feel, it took the pressure off me. So. And I guess I could ask a question.
Rajashri, you did
No,
too.
thank you for sharing this because I'm doing a study right now. It's called Brain Longevity Program. And they're talking about this pain, associating this pain comes from very childhood. And constantly we hold on to this and we just don't know how to communicate with the pain. And only the yoga and body awareness and breathing and meditation and lifestyle change, which is called lifestyle change. And that helps us to redirect our pain and understand, because if I try to explain the pain or ask the pain, how is your pain? No matter how much you will tell me your pain, I am not in that moment. So I will never know you are living in that moment. So it's each individual journey, how we redirect that pain, and brain is the communicator. The brain says it, how to redirect and how to get yourself into at ease or that movement or that breathing. So it's actually helps us for our longevity in our life too. because of we learn how to redirect that pain and or get rid of the pain or become out of pain. I'm still in the middle, but they are talking about it starts from very, very early childhood, and we just don't know. Those pains are not pain because we didn't know that called pain that age. And now later on, we learned that word called pain. And so associating pain from what was the association was, we start understanding when we start getting older, and the brain start response with our body movement, muscular movement, tension, attentions, breathing, all this. So it's a manageable. It's something can be prevention. It can be done preventive, and it's only the yoga and the breathing. Mind management, body management, breathing awareness, these are the way to handle it. There is no other way. There is no need medication, no need painkiller, but only way, the therapeutic way. So it's a very interesting, I need 6 more months to finish the course, but it's all start from brain.
Yeah.
And it's the whole dorsal spine carries through all the nerve centers. So
Yes.
that's why we feel the muscular pain from the back. And it goes to the joints.
So is Angelo in the right place to just be here and do
100%, because now he actually expressed, with himself.
Yeah.
He was suppressing. Is that all this suppression is out right now because he's communicating with his body in cellular level. With the chromosome, is there this whole thing they call those test there is, it's really huge science behind this painting.
Wow.
There's another analogy for that phenomena, which is, think of it like programming or like a route. If I gave you a route to get from here to New York, which was essentially the sequence of things you need to do to lift your arms over your head. So to lift your arm over your head uses 30, 40, 50 muscles in your body to simply lift your arm over your head. Now, if you learned at a very, very young age the wrong sequence, but it was kind of close, it was kind of sort of okay, so you were able to lift your arm over your head. But year after year after year, you're beating up your body in ways that are not helpful because it isn't actually the correct way to lift your arm over your head. And there's no textbook, so it's not like you could have just read the textbook as a child. So now you've got a history, a habit, an institutionalized set of neurons in your brain. You have the instructions to get to New York, but they're the wrong instructions. And so sometimes the hardest thing of all in these therapy situations is that you've got to start from scratch. And so, and our identities do not want to go back to just stretching my arm, like down, so it didn't even lift more than an inch higher, so sometimes you have to start right back at the beginning. Like, what's the first thing you do momentarily when I say lift your arms overhead, before you've even moved your arms? And like, that's step one. Then step two, the arm starts to move. What's happening in the shoulder and the arms and the back, and so on. And so I think sometimes, especially for somebody like you, Angela, where it's quite obvious when we look at your body that your body has institutionalized memory of certain ways of being, which is obviously, causing you harm, causing you discomfort. That I think the hardest thing is just learning how to go way, 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 way back to the very, very beginning and start again. And it'll just feel like terrible because you'll be like, am I a dweeb? I mean, why, I'm just trying to lift my arm overhead. But sometimes you just have to go back and literally start from scratch. And so sometimes, you see this phenomena less in trauma, but in sports people. Like, like tennis players who get to top level, but not the very highest, but in the top realm. But their serve is damaging their shoulder. But they're very good at it. They got to the top game playing like that, but it's damaging their shoulder. And then they have to start again and relearn how to use their shoulder and relearn how to serve a ball, even though they, got to Wimbledon or whatever. US Open, they have to start again from scratch, and it's very humbling. And so some of them manage it and some of them don't. but it becomes then more of a mind exercise of your managing your identity.
It's interesting though, because we're going back to what Rajashri said, that changing of the over time with the therapeutic movement would release also the emotions that would get trapped in there as well.
Because it's all entangled.
Yes.
It's all
because they're talking about this, like how Angela said is very nice, because that's what exactly I've been reading right now. That's that I didn't know how to communicate with my pain with others. Like he's able to give that, you know, a kind of character right now. Can actually express that, because most of the time I had that same issue, because I had to show up and do it even I'm in pain, because that's my job, is that I will demonstrate the pose and that's it. And even if I have a pain, you know, I have a sometimes in earlier childhood, I remember I have demonstration on the stage, like 2-3 days in a stretch, you know, we are all on the road. And every day doing it, you start feeling soreness. You don't have the time. So, and I think it's not me only. I think all the dancers goes through that. Everyone goes through that.
Very much, I think.
So how do you relax that time? That's why I feel this whole communicating yourself with, you know, pain, understanding, and giving yourself that, you know, not pushing it, communicating. Sometimes the communication can be with relaxation, breathing, talking to someone. You know, there are a lot of this. This is the part we would say sound therapy, you know, like massages we do, you know, like all these things, the relaxation technique we use in our self care. So those are very important. But I think yoga is something that which attributes so much to balance that pain versus not communicate or communicate. Because during the yoga practice with the breath awareness and body awareness, you are already communicating with that. You are speaking.
Is there a point to where maybe some of this came up for Angelo as a result of doing the yoga? I often think that, like, sometimes
I think
yoga
so. Otherwise, that's the realization.
Yeah.
That's the self-realization.
Yeah. Does this resonate at all? Help you, Angelo? Helps.
Yeah, I mean, the best news is I was able to communicate it. And, you know, then there's not frustration on my end, on the teacher's end, and at least we're on the level playing field then, because I'm not, you know, that part has been beneficial for me. So I don't feel like, I feel like I could be in the studio and not doing things the right way, or not using my arms, but not being corrected for it. You feel me? And that's been a benefit, because now I'm able to just feel my own body right now, the pain in it up top, and I know what I can do. So yeah, I can relate to it. The soreness, going too far, pushing myself. I mean, I don't know about anybody here on this screen, but I know how to push myself. I do. I'm going to push myself and continue to push myself. And I realize that, you know, that's not beneficial for me anymore. It's just not going to be beneficial for me anymore. You know, I was at work, and I don't want to take too much time, but I was at work, and there was a gentleman who was working side by side with me who's struggling. He was a little older gentleman, and he's about ready to retire. But there's another guy who's like me in the past, and I know how to get things done, and how to manage work and get people moving and keeping them going. And productivity is what we call it, or efficiency. I love it. But I realized the guy wasn't going to be able to do those things, and I can't push him. So I stopped doing that. I've learned in the last couple of months that has not been beneficial for me, and I'm not going to do that to somebody else when I can give them a pass, unless they know. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share, and it's been beneficial. Thank you, Michelle, and Sarah, and Matt, and Marshita, and the teachers at BYSJ, and Rajeshri, and soon to be Aisha. And but I feel like the yoga is actually finally working, believe it or not, because I'm able to just tell that I'm in pain. Because I've been able to do the postures, as they asked. I'm an athlete, and I get this stuff, but the best yoga that I've received, I don't even know what that word means, but the best yogas I've received is my realization that I can't do it right now. Some things I have to step back on some things. That's been the biggest realization. So, and I'm grateful for that. Just that. That's huge.
That's a big start.
Can I
That's
say
big.
that? Are you comfortable with that, right?
I'm comfortable. I want other people around me to be comfortable. I don't want to frustrate.
Perfect. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we want to hear from you, because that's where your pain will start changing the path and the process.
That part I'm not there yet, but that's hopeful.
Don't worry. It will happen automatically, but that's the best part.
That's
And
hopeful.
yeah, I'm happy to see you smile now.
Yes,
That's true.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Yeah.
Angelo,
Hi, Marshita.
yeah. So I know your practice, I actually see you always try, and I appreciate that. So just do what you can. You understand yourself more than anybody else in this world. And you've been doing this yoga, so you have depth knowledge of yourself. So don't doubt it. Just do it what you can do. And we are all here to support each other really in this journey. That's all I can say. And anytime you think that I'm pushing you too much, you talk to me after the class. Okay. All right. It's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
See your practice. What do you do? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Sweet.
I really like it how you said it, Angela. I have to tell you, because it's like my study has been successful. What I'm learning, this is really true. This is human, body, how it does.
The best thing I got is going for me is that I'm in pain and I can feel it. It's like that's a real feeling for me. I don't know how to express the other stuff. That's real. It's like for me. It's finally easy for me to realize, like, no, I can't do this anymore because it's going to hurt me. I didn't even understand that. I didn't know what hurt me in my life up until now. I'm 52. Can you imagine? So that's the start of it, like you said. So something. Anyway.
Wow.
Rajashri, what is your study that you're doing?
It's a beautiful study. It's called Brain and Longevity. It's
Brain
a
and
course it's an online course I'm taking.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, Alzheimer's.
Great.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I share with you, Michelle.
Yeah.
My mom is going through, and so I'm just dementia, Alzheimer, and I just wanted to know actually. But it starts from the brain and the longevity and changing the lifestyle, whole pattern of the lifestyle. So it's a very, I'm very first stage still, but it's very interesting to see that they are talking about, it's not a disease, it's a disorder.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how lifestyle change early, if you can find, I shouldn't even talk about it because I'm just a beginning student, but it's I kind of believe.
Yeah.
How I'm studying, and that's why today when he's talking about this pain thing, and it's really resonance in my heart because they are talking about this pain, and they're talking about the earlier childhood pain. Why some people are not, which is Matt says it, like why just the last perfection they can't do it, because where that stops them, that pain or that discomfort, it's they are trying to save from the brain. It's I'm learning more. I will know more. I'll share with you guys because it's a.
Well, I'm appreciative because I feel like dementia, Alzheimer's is really has taken more lives.
Yeah, it's taking, and they are predicting but it's the research are showing if the lifestyle change.
Yeah.
If they do, then it will reverse it.
Yes.
It was one
I totally agree with that. I mean, I've lived in, I even my own life is a testimony, actually.
That's the same thing happened for my life. When it happened person in my life, it's, you know, and I'm affected by that. So we all get affected by this kind of.
Yeah.
So there's 5 minutes left. Anyone, any yoga observation, question, sharing? The cat can join in, Dale, if you like. We see her.
What about
with the tail.
Vera? I
It's
don't know if
Vera.
Vera's
We
on.
can
We
see
can't, we
Angie and
can't
Joel,
see,
but
we can't see
them.
Angie and
Yes.
Joel, so we don't know if Vera's listening or not.
Yeah.
Nori had her hand up.
No, Nori, there we go.
I just going back to the question about fixed firm. A long time ago, and I have this habit because a teacher suggested I do it. When I sit back on my heels, I move my calves because they're kind of big, and he said just move them out of the way.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to do that personally when I'm cold. When I'm in a Bikram class, I don't need to do it. But if I'm doing it and I'm cold, like if I'm demonstrating, then I too also have to roll my calves out of the way.
It puts you in a better position. If you have to do it, it puts you in a much better position to do the posture effectively.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, because I was going by listening to Matt go step by step, and I don't know I do have to do that, so I've kind of inserted in there.
No, it's absolutely fine. Yes, in my opinion, it's like, you know,
It's funny. I remember back in the day, there was a comment. I don't know, Rajeshri, where people would say that more often. You don't hear it much anymore, but yeah, you know, to do that. It's funny.
I do too sometimes, and I also do opposite things too. You know, when I have a leg cramp or leg aching, I actually try to sit on my calves more.
Ah,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
That's a good way it works.
You can also try, Nori. So in fixed firm, as you are about to separate your feet, if you can think of consciously lengthening through your big toes, you may find that you don't need to roll your calves out. Because there is an extension of the lower leg, well, it's kind of an extension of the whole leg, even though it's bent. But there is an extension of the leg in that action of opening up the feet. And so if you can actually get that to start to happen, it's very hard if you not have that awareness to even get the sensation of trying to lengthen through your big toe. It's kind of a hard sensation to get a connection to. But as you start to get connected to it, you'll find that your calves come alive, and you may find that it's actually quite easy to sit down between your feet.
That's cool.
All right.
You know, it's a little bit more
thank you.
advanced, but it's something to explore. And it's also a very healthy action for the knee and for the hip, as well as obviously the ankle. The whole thing sets up activity, because your legs are not passive in fixed firm. They're busy, but it's a particular kind of busy. Busy supporting you rather than trying to achieve something.
Okay, thank you.
Did you raise your hand, Angela, or is it something waving in the corner? No, okay. There is something there. It is your hand.
No, I appreciate, and I don't want to. Yeah, you guys got to keep going, but I did have something that came up, and I never expressed it to anyone. But this sounds like a good format to express it. Is my back pain, and maybe I was disciplined as a child. I don't know anybody else here was, but that's how I was raised in an Italian family who disciplined. I got hit a lot in my back. And well, it's just the way it was, you know. I'm not, I don't, just telling you. But I just was, that seemed to come up for me about a year ago. I remember feeling that, like, I wonder if this was me tensing up when I was a kid, getting ready, because I knew it was going to happen. I did it anyway. That's my own problems, but just getting that, anyway, just thought I'd share that, because could come from
Angela, I think, but Angela, I think that's really important. Why in a lot of different postures, if you hit a point, so you notice it in Janushirasana where you bend the knee out to the side, you notice it in half tortoise, sometimes in the shoulders or the neck, you certainly notice it in fixed firm in the knees, the hips, the ankles. And there are lots of other postures where you might hit a place where you start to react, you start to tense. Now that's a good place to stop and breathe.
Mm.
Just be there on that edge where you're just feeling that tensioning happening, and just be there. Don't try to go beyond it. Don't push beyond it. Try to be there, because you're literally retraining your physiological memory, but also everything up into the brain. So there's a lot happens if you can calmly be at the edge. Don't go over the edge, but be at that edge. And that's how you can retrain. And it's a way, there are even whole schools of therapy that are around those techniques of bringing somebody to the cusp and then just letting it be there. And you'll find that there's a release of hidden stuff that might explain it. So you don't necessarily need to even fully understand what's behind the tension. You just notice it's happening. And in the Hatha yoga, you go into the posture as best you can to the place you are, and you hold it in stillness and let that stillness work for you. Let that breath work for you, and don't judge it. Don't push it. Just let it work for you.
Yeah, 100%. Well said. That's beautiful.
Thank you for sharing it, because it's a great exploration for other people to hear of how those things occur and how they manifest later on. And together with what Rajeshri said, that's a good way. It's going to be a good thing for someone watching it to understand for themselves.
And I think the thing is, the truth is that probably that every modern human has those. Some of them are the result of, traumas you could relate to when you cast your memory back to past experiences. And a lot of them are things that you have absolutely no idea why it's happening at all. But it's institutionalized in the body, but the principle's the same, of just trying to get to the cusp and be there. And that's why one of the reasons why Hatha yoga is so powerful if it's done right. It's not about getting somewhere. It's not about achieving something.
That is it. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Rajeshri.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
It's
you.
a good one.
Thank you for
Interesting
participating.
one.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing so much out of it. Love you, Rajeshri.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye. Love you, everyone.
Sarah. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.